Scriptbox presents Let's Be Wealth Positive. Shopping now is about essential.
हेलो, क्या हो रहा है? खाना पीना नाश्ता
of paper. All right, you print it on a piece of paper, and at this point, the question which I want to discuss as part of the measurement projects which students can do, the question which I want to discuss now is, given one picture of this kind. Okay, we have captured this from webcast, so we get good quality picture, or we may get it from one of our simple projections like this. And there's one more aspect which I did not discuss, which I should have had discussed in the first segment, which I'm going to do now. Maybe I'll take a pause here and first talk about that. And that is, try sometimes under trees, we actually get images of the sun. They won't be as good as this. It may be a fuzzy view, but images of this kind under tree, many circles. You must have had seen this. So if you find such images now, under trees, pinhole images of this kind, try and take photographs. There is still good amount of eclipse to go. So even now, if you get sunny outside, go out and look for trees around you. And under the trees, you will find pinhole images. Then you will see the eclipse in that. If you have nice, perfect circular part here, and there's going to be the eclipse on this side. So take photographs from that. Take screen captures from these webcasts. And now what is it that we want to do? What is it we want to do with image of this kind? After we have printed it, maybe color invert, and then we want to mark 3 points, A, B, C, on this disk. Mark 3 points, A, B, C. We mark these 3 points. Please be careful, should not be outside, should not be inside. Like the Hiranyakashipa, not outside and not inside. Exactly on the circumference. Try to judge and place 3 points and make them as far away from each other as possible. Make them as far away from each other as possible. And then you draw the triangle ABC. Triangle ABC. You draw the triangle ABC. And after you draw the triangle ABC, you make the perpendicular bisectors of AB, AC, and BC in this triangle. Make the perpendicular bisectors. They should meet at a point. That point O, from that point O, measure the distance OA, OB, OC. They should be equal, but small errors may be there. Average them and draw a circle. So the circle should then fit the sun. Then you have an idea about the size of the sun. You have an idea about the size of the sun, and then the size of the circle of the moon. This is a circle of the moon. So on the circle of the moon, you again mark 3 points, A, B, C. On the circle of the moon, mark 3 points, A, B, C, as far away as possible. Draw the chord AB, BC, AB, and BC. 2 chords we will get. And draw the perpendicular bisectors of the chords. Draw the perpendicular bisectors of the chords, and they will meet at point O. From that point O, mark OA, OB, OC, and then you do the same thing. Measure, average OA, OB, OC, and then draw the circle, O as the center. That will be the circle of the moon. So now you are having an idea of the projected diameter of the moon image and the sun image. Compare the two. And if the moon is larger than the sun, it should be a total solar eclipse or equal. If the moon's circle is smaller than the sun's, then it is going to be an annular. So if you do this with your own setup, maybe a pinhole, large pinhole held high up, maybe under a tree, and maybe you have a telescope. If you have a telescope, then what you want to do? You don't want to look at the sun with the telescope. But if you have a telescope with a tripod, then put it out in the sun. Objective side, try to turn it towards the sun. Not look at it, but look at the shadow of the telescope. So when you look at the shadow of the telescope, when you look at the shadow of the telescope, then we have here Abu Dhabi has progressed further. This is Rajasthan still. So when you have the telescope, you turn the objective to the sun and look at the shadow. When the shadow becomes shorter, you are going towards the sun. When the shadow is shortest, then this is pointing to the sun. From the other end, then you will get a projected image. You hold a piece of white paper against just in front of the telescope there, you should see the image of the sun there. Focus, and then you should see the image of the sun. And then, of course, there is going to be the ambient sunlight, and also it may not look so good. Then maybe you want to put a baffle over the objective tool, or you somehow put a little bit of shade there. And having a tripod will become very important, because handheld telescope is going to shake so much you can't get an image of the sun out there. So with this, you may get something of this kind. Of course, this is a tracking telescope, and one of the most sophisticated methods by which it is being checked here. So I will now try and show you. I probably am going to leave this screen sharing for a while. I'll come back. We'll come back to the live view. But I did want to show you an image about this projected image. I'll need to hunt that out a little bit. So I'm going to get that image and show you how you can, I have the presentation coming. It's going to come. And in this presentation of mine, I will screen share again. I have from the year 2006. The year 2006, when there was a very, very partial solar eclipse as seen from Delhi. A very, very partial solar eclipse as seen from Delhi. But student did amazing constructions on it. And so I have views of that in this presentation. So as soon as this presentation comes into my system here, I would like to share with you some of these views. Of course, this is possible for anybody now only who already has some telescope and projection setup which is already there. And with that, maybe you get these views and maybe photograph these views. Or if you have a tracking telescope and you have an image, then that image, then you overlay it maybe on a graph sheet or do image processing. Students had done some MATLAB image processing with this earlier. I'd like to show all of that to you just in a little while. And in fact, I have the presentation on the screen. So maybe if I do screen share, I can show you this. The idea in all of this is that we want to enjoy this eclipse. We want to enjoy this eclipse by looking at it through safe observing methods. Safest is never to look at the sun, look in the opposite direction, look at an image of the sun formed somehow, but not in water. Some people have been asking whether in water, if we have sun projection in water, is it safe? No, it is not at all safe to look at it in water. That is actually shallow reflection, and therefore it is very, very dangerous to look at that. But otherwise, if you have a projected image of the sun falling on the ground somewhere, it is very, very safe. You can look at it for as long as you wish to look at it. And therefore, all right. So, So there are a few more live which have come up. So we'll try to take a look at some of these. I'll try to screen share soon. I'm just trying to check whether there are any questions on our chat. I seem to have somehow skipped our own live. So I'll come to that. If there are questions on our chat, I'll come to that very soon. As of now, let me do one thing. I'm going to very soon start screen sharing and take a look at the eclipse. All right. So very soon I will start screen sharing and show you this while again I sort out what has happened to our live views. So let me start the screen sharing and we'll take a look at whatever live views are available. For now, we continue to look at Rajasthan. So the eclipse is in progress. So there's still some time before it comes to the maximum. And so that's from Hanley. This is from the Indian Institute of Astrophysics. And so we are now here a little eastwards of Rajasthan. You can see the progress of the eclipse is much less here because we are eastwards. The eclipse is traveling west to east. So this is one view that we have live. And all right. So, all right. These are some of the live views which have come. The Abu Dhabi view, for instance, has progressed some more from when we saw it last. And I wonder if we have, yeah. So we can see that from Ethiopia now, it has passed the maximum. So that is the view that we are getting. So I am going to again leave you for a while with the live view that we have.
पहली वाला अगर उसी में काम कर रहा है इसलिए तो लाइव जा रहा है।
All right.
What time will we speak?
So, but the camera here is not looking at this. No, I want that the camera to look at this.
वो कर रहा है वो अभी वो सेट कर रहा है ना सेंटर में ला रहा है उसको।
Can you just check that this is looking at this? Okay, I have to go back there, and if I have problem, I'll call you.
सर मैम का नाम लगाओ यार।
All right. For some reason, the capture from here is not visible. I hope you are able to see it maybe better. Maybe my screen is the issue. I'm not able to get you captures from our own campus, Delhi. However, we will try and see if we can get it on Facebook Live. From the planetarium, we are also trying to show some, yeah, there it is on live. And so here, of course, we are going to see people, and there you can see at the back, perhaps, a view. Unfortunately, what's happening is that this is an LED screen. It's showing a lot of reflection. And so what we are seeing here is directly a view of the sun from Delhi. All right. So once again, the view seems to be having some issue. Let's go back to screen share is on. Yeah, no, screen share is not on. Okay. All right. So we go back once again to the webcast as it was coming from Rajasthan. We will try and share with you some of the Delhi views too, and we will try and put up a view of the eclipse at the same time from different locations. Therefore, so that we can make comparison. In the comparisons we had a look at earlier, all right. So in the comparisons we had a look at earlier, we saw that the eclipse from the extreme western parts of the world, not extreme west, I mean western parts of the belt of the eclipse, they saw the eclipse much earlier. And by the time the eclipse started here, already the eclipse was in a maximum phase in Kenya, where we saw Kenya, Ethiopia, and so on. And then Abu Dhabi. Let's take a look at the webcast which is coming from Abu Dhabi. Here it is from Hanley, IIA, Indian Institute of Astrophysics is webcasting from Hanley. Here we have in Abu Dhabi. I think we should probably stick to this webcast for some time, because this one here is approaching the maximum at this stage. So we have now here an annular solar eclipse, right? So in this annular solar eclipse, when moon comes in front of the sun at the maximum, when the center of the moon and center of the sun are closest that they can be, when they are the closest that they can be, at that stage, what we have from Delhi, for instance, is largely partial. What we have from southern India, much less partial. What we have from the thin belt going across India in northern parts is an eclipse of this kind, right? So this is the stage which we are seeing now from Abu Dhabi as well. Eclipse reaching moon has not yet completely slipped inside the disk of the sun. It is still outside, a little outside like this. It is slipping inside the disk of the sun. And once it does that, we are going to reach the phase, annularity phase. This phase, when the moon is inside the disk of the sun, just when it has slipped inside the disk of the sun, as will be seen from some locations in India, like Kurukshetra, Dehradun, some of these locations, when it has just slipped inside, this timing, it's called, I think, in contact 2. And from here to here is going to be just a few seconds. And if we will look at the timings which have been calculated, so between from about 30 seconds is the original calculation, and then the calculation is corrected to something like some 20 seconds or so. So I would like to actually talk about this correction. Why is it that we are having this timings here corrected so? Because we are reaching here in Abu Dhabi, in the webcast, we are just reaching the phase where this discussion becomes of importance. So what happens here? We have the moon. We have the moon, a spherical object, coming in front of the sun. Take this as sun, another spherical object. Well, we see cross section like this of the sun as well as the moon. And now treat these as those cross sections of the disk. So the sun and the moon is going to sit inside this cross section here. And if it were a perfectly spherical object, moon were a perfectly spherical object, we will get a perfectly circular cross section here. But we don't get a perfectly circular cross section. You can perhaps in this webcast, you can just about see. It's not so easy. Perhaps you will see it when the sun comes closer and when moon comes closer and closer to the edge of the disk of the sun. And maybe somewhere like that where you can see both. All right. So when so this particular phase for India, we still are a little ahead for that. So now we are sharing to you webcast from Abu Dhabi, where the eclipse is just about to reach the maximum phase. In the maximum phase, the disk of the moon slips inside the disk of the sun, as seen from Abu Dhabi here. And this has not yet happened in this webcast. So it is just about to. So when it slips inside, this is what we say the annularity phase. And not all of India is going to see this, only parts. Annularity phase. From here, as moon moves to this end, so this particular time, it's barely less than 30 seconds time that is going to be seen. At this time, just when the edge is touching edge of the moon is touching the edge of the sun. Just at this time, the contour of valleys and mountains around the sun. So because moon has many mountains and valleys all around. So the cross section is going to show us contour of valleys and mountains around the disk of the moon. And these will interfere with this eclipse happening. So if this was a perfect circle, when it drops, falls in, it falls in. But if it is not a perfect circle, at this edge meeting point, there are valleys and mountains. So through valleys, sun can peep out. Mountains will obscure the sun. So when sun peeps out through the valleys, we get this phenomenon of diamond ring or Bailey's beads, which is common in annular eclipses. So when it peeps out through this valleys, like a series of valleys, you'll get Bailey's beads. If there are mountains, tall mountains, they are going to obscure the sun. Where we thought the ring of the sun should appear, instead we get only still what looks like partial. So that is how the timing for this gets shortened. Some places where it is supposed to be annular, it almost gets shortened to 0 because mountains are going to interfere. When the moon slipped inside the sun was just for a fraction of a very little time, and then moon was going to move out. So this is going to happen in some locations in Uttarakhand, I checked. So which are near the edge of the belt path, near that edge. So when the moon was just slipping inside and moving out, there are some maybe huge mountains in that location. Because of those huge mountains where it was supposed to show you ring of fire, instead of that it shows you the necklace. What we are going to see from Delhi is also necklace. At the moment, the stage that we are seeing for Abu Dhabi is also the necklace stage, where one sliver of the sun, bright sliver of the sun, is going to be seen. So this is one aspect of it. One other point which I wanted to make was that you might think because the moon is showing you the same phase. That's what people say. That moon goes around the earth same speed as it revolves. Because of that, that moon is always showing us the same phase. It doesn't show you the other phases. That's what it seems. But although the speed, I mean the rate at which the period that moon takes to go around the earth and it takes to spin are the same, because of which this is happening. However, there are times when the rate of motion is different because it is an elliptical orbit. And so few other reasons like that. Sometimes we peep a little above and below this. This phenomenon is called libration. And the reason this is important is that because of this, every time we have an eclipse, this valley, contour of valleys and mountains, the edge that we see is not always the same. We see different cuts at different eclipses. And the amazing part of it, amazing aspect is that moon, which has been studied for decades, there is still scope. The complete topography, we do not yet have that good a topography information of the moon as compared to even Mars. That it is possible still from down here on Earth, we make these observations. We make an observation of an eclipse, solar eclipse, an annular solar eclipse like now, and we go to those edge of the belt of the eclipse. We go to those edge points, and maybe on this edge, if this is the belt of the eclipse, so across this, a number of people stand just at the edge, and they all try to see: are we seeing it like a ring, or are we seeing it maybe more like a necklace for every point? So then the calculation is taking into account all of this topography of the moon. But if we find that maybe some place where we thought we should see, we don't see it, that means there is still possibility of a little bit of additional information to go in for the topography of the moon. The amazing part is that standing here on the ground with relatively simple equipment, we can still contribute to this topography of the moon, which is being done through spacecraft studies. But through such niche observations, interesting observations, there are also some other kinds of observations. At some stage, I will try to talk about those. Let's take a look at what is happening in the different webcasts for now. So we'll go back again to the view from Rajasthan that we have. Eclipse has progressed quite a bit, but still we have good amount of time. We have another half an hour or so before we are going to reach the maximum stage, as we did for Abu Dhabi, and we had a look at Kenya earlier, where it was reaching the maximum. So we of course want to watch out what's happening here in India. So that was Rajasthan. This is Hanle, Ladakh, Leh Ladakh. So which is to the east. So you can see that the progress of the eclipse here is much less. And here looks like this particular location is clouded out. And this is the Abu Dhabi location still. Okay, so this is again Ethiopia. You can, oh my goodness, look at that. So here we have, because it is very cloudy, somebody has put the camera right out to the sky, and we can see. Now this is Ethiopia, right? So in Ethiopia we have the eclipse past its maximum. It has gone past its maximum, and so it is moving out of the disk of the sun. It becomes clouded then, and so therefore they have turned their cameras. Okay, now they have got back the view. So this is Ethiopia, and all right. So these are some of the views from planetarium. Of course, we have it in projection. We can see some of the live views of the sun in projection, as there we see the eclipse, which is.
Which are the parts from Delhi or from India that will be properly visible?
Yeah. All right. So since there is a question about the path in India, which will be seen, we still have a little bit of time before we reach the maximum. So let's take a look at this map again. So here is this map, and I will give the link for the map in the chat. Oh, I don't have our own webcast there. So I'll give the link for this in some time, and we can see that there are these parts of the world which you can find. So this cylindrical region where you can see this eclipse, all of India is in this. All of India is in this cylindrical region. But there are some parts which are in this blue belt here. So these are the parts which are seeing the maximum. See, we had a look at it from these regions a while ago. One or two webcasts from these regions, because the eclipse was traveling from here. And now it's going to reach the maximum of the eclipse is going to reach here in India. And at this stage, let's try to take a look at what are the views. If we go here, we can see that this is still the view from Rajasthan, and we have these two webcasts working well from IIA and from Rajasthan, from Hanle and Rajasthan. So this is the stage of the eclipse as of now. And
मैम ज्यादातर ये लोग कह रहे हैं कि 6 घंटे तक रहेगा
ये 10:15 से लेके 148 तक है
148
हाँ 10:15 से लेके 148 तक eclipse है. And so but the maximum part is just less than 30 seconds, as I said. So when you use this, you can try to check for your own location. If you still don't have that information, click on this and it will give you timings of the eclipse. Add 5.5 hours to this, and this is going to tell you where all. Since there was a question about this, so I have tried to show this again, though we had a look at this right in the beginning of our webcast. So I am going to leave us now with these views for now, so that I can get sorted what's happening to our own webcast. And so I'm going to leave out these views for now. All right. So we do have the planetarium view coming in on planetarium live. However, there is perhaps a lag here because of which I could not show you the live sun image which was coming from the planetarium side. So I'm trying to get that back for you. Yeah, I think then I will share the screen. Yeah. So now it is there. Let me try and share the screen. Now these views are actually not through a tracking telescope and of that kind. These are actually different kinds of views, innovative ways in which we have tried to put it out in projection so that people who are there around can also get their own views. It's still a little bit sunny out here, so not sunny, a little bit hazy, cloudy out here. So we are not having a look at. All right. The moment I came here, they are doing some adjustment. So I will have to ask them to show the sun again. Yeah, all right. So there it is. See that? So that's the view from Delhi currently. Let's go and compare with Rajasthan. So that's the view from. There's not too much of a difference. There's not too much of a difference that you can see here because we are very close by. And okay, we are a little more to the east here perhaps. So you can see that the eclipse has not progressed so much here. And we are continuing to see the views from Delhi out here. So I'll leave for a while view from Delhi. And I would like to once again talk about, all right. So I'll leave this view on. Let me remove. All right. So we had two segments which we had some discussions about how you are going to view this eclipse and how you are going to, let me stop sharing for a while, how you are going to view this eclipse simply, how you are going to view it through webcast. Some of the webcasts were visible to you, and maybe I'll try and share some webcast links to try and get an idea about the eclipse through various webcasts. The all right, and there was another aspect which was what are the simple measurements that you can do, simple measurements that are possible to do. And we talked about there basically two things that you could do. Just try and measure when the eclipse began and when it is ending if you have very simple equipment. Even just with the pinhole, you should be able to do that. And then take photographs of the eclipse in some way, projection. Of course, if you have high quality photographs through sophisticated equipment, it's another thing. But if you don't have that, even if it is very fuzzy, take a photograph because we'll benchmark then how accurately we have been able to measure. See, usually a smartphone image gives you the time when the photograph was taken. That's important. And then we can see how much of the eclipse is visible in this, what fraction of eclipse had gone through. So that is one. Then I would like to, we had a little bit of a look at how we are going to explore this eclipse through software. So let me share the screen again. And we had a look at already this, which is how you are going to know about this. In fact, you may want to know about other eclipses too. The eclipses which happened earlier, the eclipses which are ahead, where you can see these and so on. So this is the eclipse and then the next one and so on through these. There is one software called EMAPWIN. I'll try to show you the views of that in a little while. But before that, I want to talk about one other exploration through software. And this is the site calsky.com. On this site, you in fact have a sophisticated sky calculator. So this is a very, very useful site for you to go. Go here, go to the sun, and it normally automatically chooses a location for you. So it may have chosen the location for you. Okay, we should just spend very little time here because we are going to reach the maximum for locations in India. So I'll just leave a little bit of this, and just to give you an idea at the maximum what you should expect from each location. So at the moment it is going to show you what we should expect. So it will show you eclipses, and there's a lot of information here. You can go through that. But here it's just going to give you a simulated view of what you can expect at maximum from Delhi. So that's the necklace, which we expect to see from Delhi. And it will be similar for many North Indian locations near about the eclipse belt. But here, of course, when we are looking at the Rajasthan webcast, we expect this to go maximum annular like this. And when we look at this location, we expect it to go maximum partial at some stage. And when we, we need to check this location in this map, which in fact I have not. So let's check what it is for this location, from where it is being webcast by the Indian Institute of Astrophysics. So yeah, so we can see that from this location we are going to see it as partial because it's not inside this belt. So that's one location where we have the webcast. We do have views from planetarium, live views of the sun, and we will try and get you views also from our DSLR, and we have an 8-inch telescope out there, except it will not give us full disk views. So we will try to get you better views in time. As we approach, you can see that here we are progressed in eclipse quite a bit. In this instance, unless we maybe blow this image up, if you have a high resolution image, blow this up, and maybe you can try and see whether there are contours of valley. But it is a very difficult thing to see against a background of this kind. It's only when this curve and this curve, the edge of the disk of the moon and edge of the disk of the sun, approach each other, that you see those effects of valleys and mountains. And
leaving this to come see.
पापा हम आ गए। क्या कर रहे हैं आप?
तो मैं दिखता नहीं, मैं क्या कर रहा हूँ? मैं यहाँ बल्ब बदल रहा
मैंने
हूँ।
आपको 10 मिनट के लिए अकेले। पापा आप सीढ़ी पर क्यों खड़े हैं?
नाना जी,
क्या छोड़ा, आप सीढ़ी पर चढ़ गए?
नानू आपको ये नहीं करना चाहिए। अबे क्या बक रहा है? तुझे लगता है मैं बल्ब भी नहीं बदल सकता? मुझे कुछ नहीं हुआ, मैं ठीक हूँ। ओहो।
To be maximum in Abu Dhabi, so perhaps it has crossed the maximum. If we want to check when it was maximum in Abu Dhabi, this is what we do again, of course. Go back to this, and this is the time. Add 4.5 hours to this. So that's also about the same, not too far from us. So when it is going to be at the maximum. Here we are once again in Rajasthan, the view that we are getting from here. And what do we have? So it looks like it's clouded out completely in Sirsa. This is from Hanle, where it is going to be partial. And okay, somebody has turned the camera directly to the sun, which they should not have done. But because it is cloudy, when it is cloudy, maybe that, as you can see, because of the cloudiness, we are not getting many of our projected images that we have here. And all right. So I will try and see now whether there are any questions here in our live webcast for me to answer. And then we will go to another segment, which is trying to have an idea about historical eclipses in the context of, all right, that's our webcast. And so I'm just here just to see whether there are any questions that I should be answering. So probably I'm going to stop screen sharing for a while. I'm just trying to see if there are questions. Okay, in Kuwait, there isn't. Somebody has asked whether we can show from Kuwait, but we don't have any. We'll have to check whether there are webcasts from there. We'll take a look. Okay, so somebody has asked, is there any relation of solar eclipse with coronavirus? Well, no, none at all. None at all. So whatever radiations are coming from the sun, they are anyway coming all the time, and some part of it is getting covered now briefly and coming out. No, I don't know why this is making the rounds. This is total nonsense which is being said. All right. All right. So I'm just trying to see if there are any more questions. All right. So I do not see questions in the chat which have to be answered. If there are any fresh questions now. All right. Yeah, I take your point. Somebody said we didn't want discussions. We thought we should add discussions to make the views more interesting. If we had live views from Delhi to add to the discussion, yes, we would have given you continuous live, but it was cloudy time to time. Somebody has asked whether we can use X-ray film to see it. No, please, that is still not safe.
Happy Father's Day, Papa.
X-ray, it is not safe.
Happy Father's Day,
so
Papa.
Where is it showing full eclipse at this moment? So if you see that from Rajasthan, this is the view. This is the view from Rajasthan. So we have to move a little to the west of Rajasthan. So go to this map, move a little to the west of Rajasthan, and that is the location where you should be actually seeing the maximum of the eclipse at this moment. So just check what is it here and look at the maximum of the eclipse, add your 5.5 hours. So you should be reaching that now. So we are still some distance, we are still good amount of distance from maximum view from India. So let's take a look at it, whether there are any of the other webcasts which are going to give us. Yeah, So there was this Abu Dhabi. Let's see. There was a feed from Sharjah. So let's see if we have, yeah. So we do have from Sharjah live view of the eclipse, which is coming from Sharjah. And so here again, it Sharjah. Let's do one thing. Since we are seeing a live view from Sharjah and we want to know whether it is going towards maximum or away from maximum, right? We are seeing partial eclipse. So we don't know whether we are seeing, so the maximum eclipse here is, okay, here it is, Sharjah, it's going to see, at maximum it is again going to see the necklace. So it is going to see the maximum at, this time we have to add 5.5 hours, right? So 11, so it is past. So when we are looking at Sharjah view, it is past the maximum. It is past the maximum that we are seeing it here. So let's see whether we can go to some location where it is. So these are all ahead. So these are all much ahead. So let's see this one, which is coming from here. This is live. So we see a view of the sun. Okay, let's wait a while. So this is the view from Turkey. Which location in Turkey? So, all right. So once again, let's take a look. We need to find out. All right, I don't know which location this is, but any location in Turkey, let's just check. All right. So this is again partial in some location in Turkey. Again, it is past the maximum. So we are looking at the eclipse here past the maximum. So we should have taken a look at some of these when it was maximum here. We didn't take a look at that, but let's try and be alert now to take a look at wherever it is going maximum to try to see that. So these are all to the east of us. So Sharjah, Abu Dhabi, we have had a look at. And so at the moment, all right. So we perhaps do not have access to a webcast from a location which is currently at the maximum. Let's, in any case, keep watching what is happening here in India. And while we are waiting for this, I just wanted to have a small discussion about the use these eclipses have given us in the past for getting to know about the geometry, let's say between sun, moon and earth. All right, that's the view from Delhi that we can see. We actually have a pinhole image here, and so that's blurred now, and for some reason here we don't have a very clear view, but we do have a view of the partial solar eclipse which is coming from Delhi. So this is a live view from Delhi that we are getting of the eclipse, and this is a live view which we have from Rajasthan, and this is a live view that we have from Hanle. So now when we have eclipses of the, let's stick to this view for now. And when we have eclipses of this kind in the past, particularly when we had total solar eclipses, when the disk of the moon covered the disk of the sun exactly, and when we had total solar eclipses, that is the time when moon covers the sun completely, the photosphere of the sun completely, and thin wispy regions around the sun to a large distance from the photosphere, which is called the corona of the sun. And the burning question currently in sun science is this corona, which is further away from the center of the sun where the emission is coming from, is at a higher temperature than the photosphere of the sun. So studies of the corona started from around maybe mid-19th century or so, or perhaps from before that. But spectroscopic studies started from around that time. So there was a total solar eclipse, for instance, in 1868, and India was a very important location. And in fact, the path to some extent went through these countries too, that we had a look at just now. And there were observations of this eclipse. This was just when spectroscopy was coming into use for studying signs of the skies. And some spectroscopic studies of the sun were already done. And spectroscopic studies of elements down on Earth showed certain kinds of what are called emission lines in spectra of a metal which is burnt, let's say. So you have the intensity and you have the wavelength. and sometimes sharp lines in it were seen, and they would be seen at specific wavelengths. So from when a total solar eclipse happens, similar lines are actually seen as blips, what are called absorption lines. And so such were seen during this eclipse. At that time, it was just this field was emerging. And Jules Janssen and Tennant from England and Janssen from France were here in India in Guntur, and they observed the spectrum of the total solar eclipse from Guntur. And Janssen at that time found some in the spectrum which was seen during the eclipse at that time, a peculiar line which was not known before. Earlier, several other elements which were seen in laboratory as emission lines were seen as absorption lines from the sun. It was known that those elements are there. A peculiar line was seen, which later, of course, turned out to be helium, discovered later on also on Earth. And in fact, Janssen did a very innovative way of trying to have several prisms cutting out the light of the sun. Normally, we don't see the corona and such the spectral lines from the corona when the sun is there in full. So Janssen did a very innovative way of having several prisms which are cutting off, and we are just getting that particular light several times bent, and so he cut off a lot of the light of the sun, and these coronal lines were seen. And so the discovery of helium therefore happened. We have a connection with India because it was observed in India. Let's just take a look at some of the webcasts which are there. So once again, we are having here the view from Hanley, and try and screen capture these images from each location at the same time, roughly the same time, or maybe two of you working together at the exact same time. Screen capture the images which are being webcast from these different locations. So you will probably need the links to these. Maybe you already have it, but you can then go to this location on your own. How do I? In our webcast. So Ethiopia, it's almost going to end here. All right. So I'll give you the link which was from Rajasthan and the link from IIA. So you can go to these webcasts directly if you like. And what I am suggesting is that you try and capture these images at the same time from different locations. I gave the link, and we can even go to some of these. Just look up this website, and this gives you a list of several webcasts. Look up that website, it gives you a list of several webcasts, and try to capture the image at the same time from each of these locations. And so therefore, you would what is it that I want that we do? In fact, I don't have students here right now asking them to do this. We are all of us involved in trying to get this out to you. So I would request, and then you share it with us, and we will try to work on it together. Screen capture, we still have a little bit of time going. Screen capture from different webcasts at the same time. These views, if you don't have these views for us directly, and in fact, when we are looking at webcasts, we get views from different locations. There is a saying in Telugu which says that if we are kind of eating at home, we eat only one kind of food. If we borrow from others, we eat different kinds of food. So when we are looking at webcasts, we are looking at different aspects of the eclipse at different times, but at the same time capture these, and then try to calculate the fraction of eclipse which has happened in these different locations. And we'll try and compare this. With the simulated known values, and with whatever analysis we are able to do, whatever our captures are. There is going to be, of course, some degradation of data in the quality of the images that we get in webcasts and so on. But in spite of all of that, we have in our hand some way of trying to go across this belt. Get some of the webcasts which are also from partial locations. So get those webcasts, capture those images, and of course okay, that's the Delhi one. Fine, let's not look at that for now until they get the sun image back in view. So that's the Rajasthan view, and we are headed towards the annular part here, and as it approaches the edge, please try and capture a number of images as it is doing that. And we can try and see when, at what time is it that the first discernment of something which is not quite exactly spherical. Even now you can see that the edge of the disk of the moon is not quite spherical. There are even at the time that it is going to touch this disk, effects like what was seen during the transit of Venus, like what I call the black drop effect, where you see these two disks coming and it seems that the disks touch each other before they actually touch. So there are also aspects of that which are coming in, and there are real aspects of mountains on the edge of the disk of the moon which come in and which are going to interfere with our simple calculations of when is it. I'll try to show you where these different calculations are. So for instance, let's zoom in here to any of the maximum locations and look at the prediction which is given. So it gives 39.1 second annular solar eclipse time here. But if we wait, it's going to show us actually corrected time. Perhaps let's go towards the edge where it will definitely show us the corrected time. So it's, as we move away from this blue line, it is showing us 26.3 seconds as the time, and in some time it will actually show you a corrected time. So the corrected time is if we initially try to calculate with respect to just a spherical cut and then given the lunar limb profile, so it is going to show us the corrected time. However, all of this, if you have webcasts which are giving you sophisticated views from which you get an idea about this, the jagged edge, an idea about the time exactly when the annularity starts. Let's look at the Rajasthan webcast now. Be alert and look at when exactly is it that the disk of the moon is going to come close to the disk of the sun. Take several of these screenshots at this point, and using maybe exit view light later on, you can actually get out the time when you had taken these screenshots. Well, exit view light is for actual photographs, but maybe screenshots will give you the time when they were taken out, and you should be able to then make a kind of a timing when the first black drop like effect started, timing when the annular was exactly ending, and compare it with the predicted value and so on. So this is what it would be good if we try to do. So from Delhi, we still we are showing all the equipment only, and the view from the setups here. Well, yeah, so this is the reason why the sun is very, very cloudy. So most of the setups are projection equipment, and so they are, and this particular view is just direct view from. So I will ask our staff to try to get direct DSLR view into this Facebook Live, and therefore then we can still make out that there is a little bit of an eclipse going on here. Let's stick to this and take it, because now we are nearing the annularity. All right. All right. So we are showing the view from a Rajasthan webcast for now. We will try and show you the Delhi views sometime soon. We have intermittent views from Delhi, but of course this particular view is not something good. We don't want this. We will try and get views from this box, for instance, any of these views which show the sun. So what I'm going to do is now for a while leave this. I'll